On our first wedding anniversary, I was involved in a major car accident and became the laughingstock of everyone as a mentally impaired fool. My husband, a wealthy philanthropist, donated millions in assets for me, solely to accumulate good karma and pray for my swift recovery. But when I regained my senses and eagerly went to him, wanting to share the good news, I overheard his conversation with his secretary. "Wells, your son with Stone is already 5 years old, even if your wife finds out. She can't change the facts. Why do you keep giving her drugs that cause mental impairment? Only this way will she obey quietly. Chen is just 5 now, he can't handle any shocks, and I won't allow any danger to come to either of them. If she remains impaired for life, I'll take care of her for life. Ensuring she wants for nothing, she should be content with that." Tears blurred my vision as a chill spread through my heart. I always thought that after getting married, I would finally have the happiness I desired, but I never expected it to be a deadly curse. If that's the case, then I don't want it anymore. "Did she take her medicine today?" Adam Wells asked emotionlessly. The secretary standing opposite him hesitated for 2 seconds before nodding. Madam thought I was giving her candy and took it quickly. However, when I went to get the medicine just now, the doctor said if Madam continues taking it like this, she will never recover in this lifetime. "Mr. Wells, perhaps we should stop." "No, if she recovers, I won't be able to spend every day with Cheng. The child is still young, he can't grow up without a father's love." As he spoke, the coldness in his eyes faded, replaced by a gentle softness. He continued warmly, "Ivy has also been clingy lately, always wanting me around. She endured the pain of childbirth for 10 months for me. How could I be heartless and abandon her?" The secretary opened her mouth, wanting to say something more, but saw him wearily pinch the bridge of his tall nose. "All right, I'm tired, you can go back first, I'll contact you if there's anything." I stood at the study door, biting my lower lip tightly, tears welling up in my burning eyes. I thought he would be happy, overjoyed even, knowing I had regained consciousness. I came to him full of anticipation, eager to share this good news with him the first moment I could. Little did I expect his indifferent words to strike like 1,000-year-old ice, instantly shattering all my anticipation and joy. "Adam, why are you treating me like this? If you don't love me anymore, you can divorce me. Why did you turn me into a fool, keep me bound by your side, and let others mock and tease me?" Subconsciously, I wanted to burst in and confront him. But just as my hand touched the doorknob, a phone ringtone came from the study. Then, Adam answered the call. His handsome face, which had been expressionless, immediately lit up with a smile as he said softly, "Sweetheart, Daddy's at home. Do you and Mommy want to come over and play?" Not knowing what the other side had said, he smiled faintly and patiently coaxed, "All right, Daddy's time today is all yours. You can arrange it as you like. Daddy will listen to Mommy." Hearing the word Daddy, my heart suddenly trembled. Suddenly, I remembered the day we first moved into our new home after getting married. Just after moving in, Adam had already prepared 2 nurseries at home. I didn't understand why 2 rooms were arranged, so I asked him in confusion. He gently pinched my cheek, his smiling eyes filled with my reflection, and said earnestly, "Because we'll have a son and a daughter in the future. The son will be like me, protecting his beautiful mother and adorable sister together with me, and the daughter will be like you, smart and lovely. Our precious daughter must be raised with the best. She can't make do sharing a room with her brother." So I arranged 2 rooms, 1 for each of them. Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. "What if we have 2 sons instead?" Adam showed a hint of disdain on his face and sighed helplessly. "Then congratulations, Miss King, you'll have 3 bodyguards to protect you from now on." At that time, his eyes held only me. His heart and eyes were filled with love for me. But why, in just a year, did he become like a completely different person, so unfamiliar, so terrifying? Scalding tears fell onto the icy back of my hand, bringing a wave of searing heat. I opened my mouth, gasping in agony. The sweet words of the past clashed with the voice of the present, leaving me unable to distinguish what was real. My body swayed unsteadily, and at the moment I was about to fall, I struggled to lean against the wall. At the same time, there was movement coming from the study. Adam hung up the phone and walked out, seeing me standing at the door. A hint of guilt and nervousness flashed in his eyes. "Amy King, what are you doing here?" My vision blurred with tears, and the sight of him became indistinct, making it impossible for me to see his expression clearly. I tried to open my mouth, but the words stuck in my throat, and no sound would come out. Adam saw how distressed I was and grew anxious himself. He quickly steadied me and asked softly, "Amy, did you have a nightmare while sleeping? Don't be afraid, I'm here, no one can hurt you." Every time I was tricked into taking the mind-numbing medicine, I would sleep for a whole day. When I woke up, I became a fool who could only giggle senselessly. After waking up startled from a dream, I would always come to him in tears. So now, as usual, he thought I had a nightmare. I clenched my palms tightly, trying to suppress my emotions, and nodded slightly in agreement with his words. Adam saw that my emotions were gradually calming down and secretly sighed in relief. "How old are you to still be scared by nightmares? Even Cheng Cheng is braver than you. You should learn more from him in the future." Ever since I became mentally impaired, his son and the woman from outside would openly come to our house. I was mentally impaired, understood nothing, and always eagerly welcomed them to visit. Thinking about what happened during my impaired state, it feels like a massive boulder is hanging in my heart, so heavy it takes my breath away. I pressed my lips tightly together and said nothing. Adam was completely focused on the mother and child, entirely unaware of my emotional shift. "Amy, Cheng Cheng and his mom are coming over for dinner later. Go arrange their slippers for them." He spoke in his usual tone, as if coaxing a child. My heart grew cold. He took advantage of my naivety and ignorance, always coaxing me into being a free nanny for him and his mother. When they were thirsty, they demanded I pour water for them. If the floor was dirty, they made me sweep and mop. They even expected me to personally bring them slippers when they entered the house. Looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar face before me, the emotions I had just managed to calm down began to ripple again. I was about to refuse when Cheng's commanding voice, like an emperor's, came from outside the door. "Where are my slippers? Amy, bring them to me quickly, or I'll have my dad beat you to death." I listened to his words without any reaction. I turned to look at Adam, wanting to see his reaction, but I noticed he kept looking at me, his eyes brimming with displeasure. "Didn't you hear what Cheng said? Hurry up and bring it to him." I clenched my fists tightly, still unmoving, just quietly staring at him. Cheng, not getting any response from me, quickly ran inside. Seeing me standing at the door, her little face puffed up with anger, she grabbed a slipper from the shoe cabinet and hurled it at me fiercely. She screamed hoarsely, "Amy, are you deaf? My dad feeds and clothes you, and this is how you treat his son. Do you believe I can make my dad kick you out?" Adam frowned slightly and gave him a warning glare. Cheng, who taught you to speak like that?" Hearing his reprimand, Ivy Stone hurried in, pulling Cheng behind her as she shielded him. Looking at him coquettishly, she said, "Adam, don't be so loud. What if you scare the child?" As she spoke, she turned her gaze back to me and said without a hint of apology, "Sorry, Amy. The child is still young and doesn't understand. You're an adult, don't take it to heart." Her eyes held no trace of remorse, only provocation and smugness, because she knew Adam's anger was just for show. He wouldn't do anything to her or her son. Sure enough, as soon as she finished speaking, Adam said, "Amy, since Ivy has said so, don't hold it against Cheng anymore. Take him out to play. I have something to discuss with Ivy." Before I could respond, he took Ivy and headed upstairs. Ivy followed him happily, playfully linking her arm with his and whispering, "I wore the black stockings you like today." Adam let out a slightly heavier breath upon hearing this, outwardly composed. His steps quickened noticeably. Even before entering the room, soft moans could be heard from the staircase. "Ah, Adam, be gentle. Let's go back to the room. If Amy sees." Adam breathed heavily, his usual composure completely gone, and muttered darkly, "Don't mind her. She's a fool who wouldn't understand any of this." I watched the glaring scene before me with cold eyes, my heart sinking into an icy abyss. "Adam, can't you even endure such a short distance?" As their voices gradually faded, I lifted my foot to follow, but was abruptly pulled back by Cheng. He loudly commanded in an authoritative tone, "Hurry up and get down. I want to play horsey." I stood motionless, disgustedly trying to shake off the little boy before me who bore Adam's likeness by 80%. Well, seeing that I hadn't moved, Seeching angrily grabbed a water glass from the coffee table and threw it at me. "Can't you hear me talking to you? Get down on the ground now," as he threw it. He also raised his foot to kick me. Sharp pain shot through my calf, and I stumbled back a step in agony. Unexpectedly, he lifted his leg to kick me again. At that moment, I lost my balance and fell to the floor, my head slamming hard against the nearby sofa. The next second, a heart-wrenching scream pierced my ears. "It hurts so much. Daddy, save me. Amy is trying to kill me." I stood frozen in place, momentarily unable to process what was happening. Wells Seeching had fallen hard. With blood oozing from the scraped skin on his forehead, I came to my senses and instinctively reached for a tissue to wipe it for him. Unexpectedly, a strong force hit me, and I was shoved away violently. Before I could react, an unrestrained slap landed on my face. My right ear buzzed from the blow, leaving me temporarily deaf for a moment. When I regained my composure and looked ahead, Adam was glaring at me with fury in his eyes, gritting his teeth as he said, "Amy, how could you be so cruel? You wouldn't even spare a child." I didn't. Before I could finish, Ivy, holding Wells, had tears welling up in her eyes, looking pitiful as she said, "Amy, if you have any grievances against me, take them out on me. Cheng Cheng is still so young. How could you lay a hand on him? If you don't like us being here, we won't come again in the future." Adam looked at her with eyes full of pity and heartache, gently patting her shoulder while offering a few comforting words. Then he turned a cold gaze toward me and commanded, "Amy, apologize." As the words fell, Wells Seeching stopped crying, choking back tears as he sobbed, "I want her to kneel while apologizing. Our teacher said kneeling shows more sincerity, then make her kneel to apologize." Wells Seeching's words didn't move me, but Adam's words made my eyes widen. In the past, he would never have let me suffer the slightest grievance, even when he only had 2,000 yuan to his name. He'd give me 1,900 to buy the necklace I liked. He said, "I can endure hardship, but not you. Whatever others have, you must have too." During my internship after graduating from college, a client tried to humiliate me by slipping me a hotel room key. He charged into the club alone, wielding a wooden stick, and fiercely fought with the others. He was covered in bruises, his eyes swollen and bloodshot, yet he didn't let a single scratch touch me. After pulling me out of the club, he held me tightly, trembling with fear, and cried, "Thank goodness I arrived in time, or I would have lost you. Amy, I don't know how I could live without you." And now, the one who said he couldn't live without me is giving me the cold shoulder because of another woman and child. Since when did so-called love and affection become so laughable? I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh, gritting my teeth as I said, "It wasn't me who did it, so why should I apologize?" Adam's expression darkened completely. He suddenly strode towards me, grabbed my hand, and dragged me into the dark storage room on the first floor, saying coldly, "You'll stay here until you admit your mistake." I looked at the pitch-black environment behind me, my face instantly turning pale. Instinctively, I grabbed his clothes and trembled, saying, "Adam, you can't do this to me." When I was 5 years old, I was kidnapped and locked in a dark, damp warehouse for half a month. After being rescued, I developed claustrophobia. He knew full well how terrified I was of being in dark, oppressive environments, yet he still insisted on pushing me like this, forcing me to admit to something I never did. "Let go." Adam looked at me with nothing but coldness in his eyes, resolutely pushing me inside. I was so frightened that I instantly screamed, "Adam, open the door. I don't want to stay here." Resistance and fear surged towards me simultaneously, trembling all over. I helplessly looked around at the pitch-black surroundings. Suddenly, I remembered everything that had happened during my period of dementia. Half a month ago, Wells Seeching was playing in the water at Stone Pond when he fell in. After being rescued, he insisted it was me who pushed him. Adam believed him and heartlessly locked me in the storage room, saying, "You'll be let out when you admit your mistake." He closed the door and left, ignoring my screams and struggles. Not long after, Wells Seeching and Ivy arrived, looking at me smugly as I begged them like a dog. Ivy looked down condescendingly and said, "Amy, What does it matter if your family is well off? If you can't win Adam's heart, you're the one who loses. Just stay foolish like this for the rest of your life, watching as my son and I take everything from you bit by bit." Wells, filled with disdain, added, "Adam is my dad, and no one can take him away. A woman like you isn't worthy of him. Mom, if only she could die here, then we could finally go back to our home." Ivy patted his head, shot me a disgusted glare, and said through gritted teeth, "She should have died long ago. Who would have thought she'd be so lucky? Surviving such a terrible car crash only to end up a fool. We should have had someone else finish her off properly." At this thought, a chill ran down my spine. My car accident was no accident, it was Ivy who deliberately arranged it. I swallowed hard, trying to calm my emotions as I slowly walked while leaning against the wall. I remember when I first moved in, I left a spare phone in this storage room. If nothing unexpected happened, it should still be here. I groped slowly in the darkness. Fortunately, I found the phone among a pile of discarded items shortly after. Tears blurred my vision as my hand holding the phone trembled helplessly, yet I resolutely dialed the number etched in my memory. After a few beeps, the person on the other end answered the call. Suppressing the turmoil in my heart, I choked out, "Dad, I want to come home." Hearing my voice, my father was startled but couldn't hide his joy. "Sweetheart, have you regained your senses?" Dad will come find you right away." Before I could explain in detail, he excitedly drove over to see me. When he saw the slap mark on my face, pain and anger flashed in his eyes, but he didn't ask anything, only choking back tears as he said, "Dad is here, Dad will take you home." He didn't stay long, immediately taking me away. The moment he got in the car, as if having made up his mind, he asked with feigned lightness, "Amy, will you regret leaving with me?" I raised my hand to wipe away the tears, recalling everything that had happened before, and shook my head. "I won't regret it. Let's go." Adam was once the person I was willing to risk everything to marry, but now, he is no longer worthy of my love. On the other hand, Adam took the child to the hospital for a checkup. Only after confirming that no vital areas were injured did he finally feel relieved. Ivy held the child in her arms, looking at his wounds with heartache, and sobbed through tears. This time we were both at home. Yet she still hurt him so badly. I can't even imagine how much worse she would have treated Cheng if we weren't around. Wells pouted his lips, pretending to be obedient. "Mommy, don't cry. Cheng is fine. As long as Amy auntie is happy and doesn't cause trouble for Daddy, Cheng is willing to do anything." Witnessing how understanding the mother and son were, Adam's resentment towards Amy grew even stronger. He immediately took out his phone and called the family nanny, saying sternly, "You make sure to keep an eye on Amy. Without my permission, no one is allowed to give her any food." As soon as the words fell, the nanny was taken aback and stammered, "Madam's father just came by, he took her away." Adam frowned tightly. "Why would he suddenly come here?" "I don't know. When the lady left earlier, she didn't take anything with her." "Wells, should I go and bring the lady back?" He let out a disdainful snort. "No need, she can't possibly leave me now. She'll obediently come back by evening." Amy was the only person she trusted after her mental decline, silently following him wherever he went, so he was certain Amy couldn't leave him. But by evening, he still hadn't seen Amy. Adam recalled the nanny's words, his heart tightening with an inexplicable sense of foreboding, and asked again, "Amy left empty-handed today, didn't she? Did she not take her phone?" The nanny nodded precisely. "Mr. King took the madam away as soon as he arrived. And she indeed had nothing in her hands." Hearing this, Adam's unease gradually intensified. He took out his phone and called Amy's father. However, what responded to him was the cold, mechanical voice of a woman. He didn't stop, continuously making calls. But the responses he received were never the voice he wished to hear. Just as he was about to leave for her house, Ivy walked in with the child. "Adam, where are you going so late? Cheng says his head hurts a little and keeps fussing. Wanting you to sleep with him. Could you stay with him for the night?" Ivy lowered her voice, speaking softly as she negotiated with him. Her submissive demeanor was heartbreaking. Thinking again of Amy's actions today, Adam immediately dismissed the thought of going to find her, nodded, and said, "All right. I'll take him upstairs." Well, Seeching cheered happily, shouting, "Other kids have both mom and dad tucking them in together. I want mom and dad to tuck me in too." Adam couldn't refuse him and reluctantly agreed. When I returned home, my dad personally cooked a table full of my favorite dishes for me. I sat at the dining table, continuously savoring the long-lost familiar taste. No matter how hard I tried to suppress the surging emotions, tears still fell uncontrollably, sliding to the corners of my mouth, mixing bitterness into the delicious food. During the time I was foolishly infatuated, I loved following behind Adam, even when my father came. My eyes were only on him. Dad didn't want to provoke Adam's displeasure, always coming and going in haste. He never even got a proper look at me. Now, he subtly turned his head to wipe the corner of his eye, took a deep breath, and said, "Amy, since you're not happy at the Wells household, come home. Dad can afford to take care of you." Hearing this, my tears kept falling as I looked at his increasingly weathered face, feeling a pang of sorrow in my heart. "Okay, I'll never leave you again." Seeing that I was gradually calming down, he finally began to ask me what exactly had happened today. I knew this matter couldn't be hidden, so I simply told him everything. After hearing what I said, my father's face instantly turned red with anger. He slammed the table and stood up, shouting furiously, "How dare he treat you like this? Has he forgotten who's responsible for where he is today?" Adam, in the year he graduated from college, the total money he had was only $500. Making even renting a decent place a luxury. My father, aware of his family's situation, repeatedly advised me, saying, "If you can stand by him through starting from scratch, can he guarantee he'll remain faithful to you once he becomes wealthy?" In life, the most unreliable thing is human nature. At that time, I dismissed it, believing that as long as he was by my side, I had everything. I didn't mind how much hardship I endured, nor how many tears I shed. I only know that being with him made me very happy. But the passing years have shown me that everything my father said back then was right. I was too foolish. That's why I misplaced my sincerity. Looking back, if Adam hadn't had my father's support behind him, he wouldn't have been able to survive in this dog-eat-dog society. I calmed my emotions and said indifferently, "Since he doesn't need our help now, let's take it back." Because I loved him, I could pave the way for him at any cost. Now that I don't love him anymore, whatever happens to him has nothing to do with me. "Good, once I've sorted out the company matters, I'll take you abroad. Your mother and brother are both overseas, looking forward to our reunion with them." My family had already immigrated abroad long ago, and my father would only return when there was business to attend to in the country. I was quite lucky. When I called him, he had just gotten off the plane. I agreed, and my father immediately started arranging a place for me to stay. During those 2 years of foolishness, I often went hungry and slept poorly, becoming terribly thin. My dad felt sorry for me and hired a nutritionist for me, arranging various nutritious meals for me all day long. I rested at home peacefully. Adam, but he became more and more irritable day by day. Since I left, his company started encountering various problems. The suppliers who worked with him either terminated their cooperation or maliciously inflated market prices. With no one willing to cooperate with him sincerely, Adam guessed that it was Amy's father pulling the strings behind the scenes, so he bought several expensive gifts and went to talk to him, only to find out that the King family had long since moved away from this villa district. At that moment, he stood frozen at the familiar front gate, asking in disbelief, "Are you sure the King family has already moved away from here? My father-in-law was still living here when he returned last month." "Yes. King moved out just yesterday, and the house here has already been sold. You're his son-in-law. How could you not know this?" The guard at the villa district kept clicking his tongue, looking at him with suspicion in his eyes. But he had no time to dwell on the doubt in those eyes, as an inexplicable panic made it hard for him to breathe. Not only could he not contact Amy, but he couldn't even find her. The situation was slipping out of his control, leaving him deeply unsettled. He muttered in a daze, "Amy has become a fool who can't leave me. How could she go away with her dad?" Hearing this, the guard couldn't help but ask in confusion, "King miss, when did she become a fool?" "She's perfectly fine. Just yesterday when I helped her move her luggage, she thanked us very politely. Here, I still have some cookies she made herself. They taste pretty good." He took out the small gift box Amy had given him when she left. Adam stared at the familiar packaging style before him, his heart suddenly skipping a beat. He hastily snatched the item from his hand to examine it closely. Upon recognizing the animal shapes of those small cookies, his face abruptly turned pale. Adam held the gift box with trembling hands, his eyes filled with disbelief. Impossible. How could she have regained her senses? She clearly took the medication. How could this happen? Unconvinced that I had regained my sanity, he dropped the cookies and hurriedly drove away to the hospital. He found my attending physician and talked about my condition. The doctor, however, said, logically speaking, there shouldn't be any issues with the medication I prescribed. As long as Miss King isn't subjected to certain stimuli, it's impossible for her to regain consciousness. Mr. Wells, did you do something to her? Hearing this, he suddenly remembered Amy's fear of the dark. These days, Wells Seaching has been coming to the house more and more frequently, and the number of times she's been locked in the storage room for reflection has also increased. It can't be because of this. No, it's impossible. She couldn't have recovered. Adam still refused to believe it and began expanding his search for Amy. He even went as far as King's family company, but he was still a step too late. The management company had long been handed over to professional agents. Amy's father had already entrusted all domestic company affairs to him. At that moment, it suddenly dawned on him that Amy had truly left him. Adam spent the whole day searching outside and didn't return home until 10 p.m., dragging his exhausted body. As soon as he stepped into the house, he saw Wells Seaching stepping on Amy's favorite doll. His pupils trembled violently as he stormed over, shoved him aside, and carefully picked up the doll that had been trampled black. Filled with rage, he scolded, "Who allowed you to touch her things? Do you even have any manners? Who taught you to play around with other people's belongings in their own home?" His sudden reprimand startled Wells Seaching, making him tremble abruptly. Ivy heard the commotion and came out, hugging Wells Seaching protectively. "Adam, what are you doing? Cheng Cheng is still young. Can't you talk to him properly? What if you scare him?" The sounds that once brought him joy now filled him with utter loathing. Adam could no longer suppress the turmoil in his heart. With a darkened expression, he gritted his teeth and said, "Take him and get out. From now on, none of you are allowed to set foot here again without my permission." "What?" Ivy couldn't believe her ears. Her face turned pale and then flushed, forcing a bitter smile as she said, "Adam, what are you talking about? Didn't you say this was our home, that we could stay as long as we wanted?" "Get out," Adam growled, his face dark with anger. His chest heaved violently, and his grip on the doll tightened unconsciously. But soon, he realized this was Amy's favorite doll, and he unconsciously loosened his grip. He picked up the dirty doll and carefully wiped it. Murmuring to himself, "This is Amy's favorite doll. She took it everywhere with her. Why did she suddenly abandon it?" This doll was the one Adam won from a claw machine during their first date. Though cheap, she loved it dearly. After bringing it home, she placed it by her bedside and slept with it every night. During this foolish period, she wouldn't let it out of her sight, carrying it everywhere she went. How could she abandon it so easily when she loved it so much? Ivy heard his words clearly and lashed out angrily. "Amy is already gone. Why are you still thinking about her? When she was here, you allowed me and our son to come find you. Wasn't that just your way of driving her away? Now that she's left, what more could you possibly be unhappy about?" "Shut up." Adam grew red-eyed at her words. Clenching his fists, he gritted his teeth and said, "I never wanted to drive her away. If you hadn't suddenly shown up with the child, how could I have treated her like this? Yes, if it weren't for that time when Amy had a car accident and became mentally impaired, and she suddenly appeared with their child. How could he have had that momentary lapse in judgment, making his Amy live as a fool for 4 whole years, enduring endless ridicule from outsiders? It made her so insecure that she didn't even dare to leave the house. All of this was his fault. At this thought, he closed his eyes in agony, repeatedly demanding, "Why did you give birth to him? Why did you bring him before me? Since you insisted on having him, you shouldn't have brought him into my sight." Ivy turned red with anger at his accusations and retorted defiantly, "And what about you? Why do you lose your composure the moment I appear? You're the one who chose to abandon Amy for us. How does that make it all our fault in the end? Ivy's question struck at the heart of what he dared not confront. Adam's eyes flickered with evasion. Unable to face reality, he stumbled his way upstairs. Amy left without taking anything. The room remained exactly as it was when she departed, only now devoid of the familiar scent that once lingered from her presence. Gazing at the familiar yet alien surroundings before him, Adam's eyes were filled with confusion. He slowly collapsed to the ground, shouting helplessly in despair, "Amy, where on earth are you? I miss you so much. Will you please come back?" Adam did not give up searching for Amy. He began trying to contact all her family members, but they had already known everything and changed their contact information before he could call. All the calls he made turned out to be disconnected numbers. According to my dad, while he was trying to find me, I happened to contact Adam's secretary's assistant. That girl is my junior. And it was me who introduced her to Join Wells Co. I called her, and upon hearing my voice, she widened her eyes in shock, trembling with excitement and relief as she said, "Amy, you're okay." I softly hummed in agreement, and then I heard a joyful sob coming from the other end of the phone. I knew it. Good fortune follows the virtuous, and heaven wouldn't treat you too harshly. That's wonderful. Hearing the joy in her voice filled me with immense relief. After exchanging a few pleasantries, I quickly got to the point. I asked her to do me a favor, to have Adam sign the divorce papers. Xiaoshan was stunned and asked in confusion, "Amy, didn't you and Wells have a great relationship? Just a while ago, you two topped the list as the model couple." "What a model couple? It's all fake." I knew that if I wanted her to help me, I had to let her know the whole truth, so I told her everything that had happened recently and sincerely pleaded, "Xiaoshan, there's no way Adam and I can continue. He has a new lover and child. There's been no future between us for a long time." Xiaoshan was furious after hearing what I said. "I originally thought the relationship between you two was great, and even told my boyfriend to learn from how Wells always treated you. I never expected he could be such a person." "Amy, don't worry, leave this matter to me. You've helped me before, now it's my turn to help you." Xiaoshan was very clever. While handing over the contract, she slipped the divorce agreement in as well. At that time, Adam was busy contacting people to look for me and didn't carefully read the contract contents, hastily signing it. After obtaining his signature, she immediately mailed the agreement to me. While telling me about the courier information, she didn't forget to comfort me. "Amy, you will surely blossom all the way in the future. I wish you a bright future and may all your wishes come true." I sincerely thanked her. Afterwards, I contacted a divorce lawyer to handle all the divorce matters on my behalf. Wells Seaching is already 5 years old, and it's easy to check his relationship with Adam. The divorce lawyer started handling the case as soon as it was accepted. It was only then that I learned, in the year Wells Seaching turned 1, Adam had already looked into the adoption agreement. He wanted to transfer Wells Seaching under my name, making him my son. Perhaps Ivy was unwilling, as the matter remains unresolved to this day. Hearing this, a chill ran down my spine. I dare not imagine, if Ivy had agreed to his proposal, Wells Seaching would have long been triumphantly brought back to the Wells family during my period of foolishness. Suppressing the anger within me, I instructed the lawyer to continue handling the follow-up matters. At the same time, I was also investigating the circumstances of my car accident. Ivy probably thought that with me gone stupid, no one would investigate what happened back then, so she wasn't very careful when handling the aftermath, and I quickly noticed something amiss. I gathered the evidence and directly called the police. Meanwhile, Ivy was at home preparing lunch for Wells Seaching. "Cheng, go call your dad downstairs for lunch, or the food will get cold soon." Wells responded with an okay and was about to go upstairs to call him when he saw him slowly descending. His big eyes instantly lit up, and he obediently called out, "Daddy." But now, instead of receiving the usual warm response, he heard him say, "I've bought plane tickets for you and your mother to go abroad. You'll leave this afternoon, and I'll send you living expenses regularly. You're not allowed to come back ever again." Ivy turned pale, and the things in her hands fell to the ground with a clatter. "Adam, are you really going to be this cruel to us?" As soon as she finished speaking, the nanny rushed in from outside. shouting, "Wells is in trouble. The police are here," saying that Stone is suspected of intentional homicide and they want to, "Hello, we are police officers. Someone has filed a real name report accusing Ms. Stone of intentionally hiring a killer, and the evidence is conclusive. Please come with us." The appearance of the police set off Adam's alarm bells, and he instinctively asked, "Who was the person she hired to kill, Amy, Miss King?" "Our investigation has revealed that her car accident 5 years ago was not an accident, but rather a deliberate act." As these words fell, Adam's eyes filled with disbelief, quickly replaced by fury. Ivy trembled all over. She never expected Amy to regain consciousness, let alone for the police to uncover the truth. She observed Adam's expression and cautiously reached out to pull him, but before she could touch him, he violently pushed her away. Terrified, she pleaded through tears, "Adam, you have to save me. I only did this so our family of 3 could be together again. Amy isn't dead, after all. Can you beg her not to target me? Please, you vile woman." Adam no longer held any tenderness for her. His eyes filled with nothing but hatred. "How dare you lay a hand on Amy? Do you have any idea how important she is to me? How could you do this to her?" he roared, tears welling up in his reddened eyes. Unable to contain himself, he slapped her across the face. "Ivy, you malicious creature, you're the one who deserves to die, to suffer, not my Amy." Even after striking her, he still felt it wasn't enough. As he was about to attack again, someone restrained him. Not long after, Ivy was taken away, leaving only the heartbroken Adam and the screaming, crying Wells Seaching in the house. Adam looked desolate as he stared at the boy who bore some resemblance to him, his heart gradually dying inside. After a while, he took out his phone and called his secretary, saying hoarsely, "Come and take this child abroad. I never want to see him again in my life." Wells Seaching was terrified, afraid that Adam would truly abandon him. He clung desperately to his leg, crying out, "Daddy, please don't leave me. I'll be good and listen to you from now on." Adam heard his voice and responded heart-wrenchingly, "Don't call me Dad. Only mine and Amy's child can call me Dad. You're just an unwanted mistake. Get out." He violently shook off Wells Seaching and stumbled out. He regretted it. He shouldn't have gotten drunk and fooled around outside. And he especially shouldn't have let Ivy have the chance to bear his child. If he hadn't gotten drunk and given her the opportunity, there wouldn't be Wells Seaching. Without Wells Seaching, she wouldn't have harmed Amy to climb the social ladder. Amy wouldn't have become a laughingstock. All of this was his fault. He deserved to die. Adam ran wildly, crying. Passers-by who saw him thought he was a madman and kept a 3-meter distance, afraid of being accidentally hurt by him. By the time I found out about this, divorce proceedings had already been initiated. I thought he would be happy, overjoyed even, to know I had regained consciousness, only as a last resort. I had to call him myself to schedule a time to finalize the divorce. Adam answered my call with a voice brimming with the joy of something lost and found again, repeatedly calling out, "Amy, my Amy, are you coming back to me? I'm sorry, Amy, I'll never do anything to hurt you again. Please come back. You can hit me as much as you want until you feel better." I remained silent, saying nothing, but I could hear the sound of him slapping himself while speaking, atoning for hitting me before. I wasn't moved, just asked, "What were you thinking when you gave me that foolishness-inducing drug?" Adam fell silent, because at that time he only thought that as long as I was a fool, I wouldn't be able to leave him, no matter how he and Ivy messed around outside, no matter how many children they had. He could always come home to see me. He was certain I wouldn't leave him. I already knew the answer in my heart and didn't expect him to reply. With a sigh, I said, "Let it be. For the sake of our past affection, just let me go." Finally, Adam agreed to the divorce, because he no longer had any reason to keep me. On the day we processed the divorce certificate, I received an enormous gift. Adam transferred all his assets under my name. I didn't refuse, after all. It was what he owed me. Only after that, we never met again. Just like we never knew each other in the beginning, we became strangers to one another, each seeking their own happiness. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. so feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.